Look, as I mentioned earlier, and I have mentioned during the week, it can be comfortably said that Dominic Perrottet, the 39-year-old who has been Premier of New South Wales for a little over 2 weeks, and I might add, has announced that his wife Helen is expecting his 7th child. The record shows Perrottet is now the de facto leader of Australia. It was he who set the pace as the national game changer. He said last Friday that from the start of next month, November 1, anyone who's fully vaccinated can come and go from New South Wales without having to quarantine. As a measure of his impact and popularity with the Liberal Party, he was immediately slapped down by the Prime Minister, which didn't reflect favourably on Mr Morrison. The Prime Minister immediately said that Mr Perrottet's move changed nothing and that the national plan by the useless National Cabinet would mean that migrants, students and tourists would come in to Australia when the Prime Minister decided. Well, I don't know what the motive was for the Prime Minister saying it changed nothing. The Perrottet announcement has changed everything. But I wonder when the Prime Minister's national plan can determine when we can actually take a trip to Queensland or WA. Dominic Perrottet has changed the coronavirus story and the response. Daniel Andrews, with daily infection totals of nearly 2,000, has said Victoria will ease restrictions from Friday. Anastasia Palaszczuk in Queensland has said that the borders will reopen on December 17, regardless of whether Queensland hits the 80% double vax target. And to save face, the noisy Queensland Deputy Premier Stephen Miles said the reopenings were being driven by health advice, not political pressure. Of course, we never see the health advice. The political pressure, you're right, Mr Miles, it's coming from Perrottet. Dominic Perrottet articulated all this when I interviewed him last Monday week. He wants families to be families again, children to be in school. He took his own son William to school yesterday morning and commented on excited parents. He's opposed to excessive red tape and regulation. And he affirmed, remember, that freedom was not his to give, but rather our automatic inheritance. This bloke has gears, Perrottet. We've seen leaders around the world opt at every turn for lectures, restrictions and the cultivation of fear. Dominic Perrottet is now stressing help rather than harm, and they're all jumping on the Perrottet bandwagon. The sooner the better. In 2016, Dominic Perrottet said, and I quote, "If democracy is to survive, we must defend freedom. We must resist the growing pressure to deploy the state's firepower to enforce a progressive agenda that criminalises dissent." That is where we are now, because you can only have progress with a contest of ideas, and you can only have a contest of ideas if you're free, unquote. I suggest we have a little class of our own. What do you reckon? A small one? Put the political leaders together, Palaszczuk, Andrews, Goodwin from Tasmania, McGowan, Marshall, Gunner from the Northern Territory, and of course Scott Morrison, and let Perrottet be the teacher and see if they can pass the Perrottet exam. I suspect to do so they'd need a lot of good teaching, but as with children, you can only learn if you want to. I think some of the people in that class think they know everything. What do you think? Email me, alan@skynews.com.au, or the text line 0414 000 848.